everyone. We're all confined at home and wondering what to do with ourselves, and me too. So what I thought I'd do is start a channel talking about some of the unusual guitars that I've been buying over the past 20 years. Now I started off, of course, just buying a Les Paul and had a Strat made by John Suhr in California. That's not to say I can play decently, it's just I love guitars, so I wanted a really good one. But then I started collecting unusual guitars, and I've called them offbeat instruments because they're not kind of like stupid designs or stupid colours. They're really just trying to advance guitar building. So I'll show some examples over the next few weeks, but they do things like they have interesting materials, or they change the ergonomics of instruments, and the whole aim of all of them is to make a better guitar. It's not just to do something that's sort of funky and interesting. They're trying to make a better guitar. And so I thought I'd start off this week with probably one of my favourite guitars that is different, and it's the Travis Bean. And in particular, it's a Travis Bean TB1000s, and it's this Travis Bean TB1000s. And as you can see, it's got a beautiful Koa body. It's got an aluminium neck that goes right through. The pickups are, as you can see here, these points here, actually mounted directly on the aluminium, and it has two humbuckers and the usual Les Paul type controls. Now it also has a couple of extra controls. It has a coil tap here for the rear pickup, and it also has a kill switch, and I'll explain why right now. So this particular Travis Bean, if you can read the back here, was made in 1977, and it was made for Greg Lake of Emerson, Lake and Palmer. And if you go on the YouTube, you can actually look up concerts from 1977 from Montreal and Memphis, and you can see him playing this guitar, most noticeably in the song Carnival. And the reason for the kill switch becomes very clear when you watch the videos, because he changes guitars in the middle of the song, and so he has to actually cut the sound, because if you remember Emerson, Lake and Palmer from those years, they each used to have their own truck full of amplifiers and gear, and there's quite a few stacks of Marshalls behind him, and obviously you don't want a big thump when you pull out a plug from a guitar when you're swapping over, so hence the kill switch. Now the guitar itself, as I said, is made from this beautiful Koa wood, and it's probably the best one I've ever seen. And it has a really good 3D effect. It probably doesn't come out on the camera, but it has a beautiful movement in the wood when you actually move it around. And it's a two-piece Koa body. It is very heavy. I haven't weighed it recently, so I can't remember how much it weighs, but it's certainly more than Les Paul, probably around 12 or 13 pounds. And the one thing that people really get find difficult about these guitars is the aluminium neck, because it does feel cold to the touch. That's was explained to me when I bought the guitar, was the reason that in the end Greg Lake sold the guitar, was because it felt cold, and it does even today. It's day in March, and it does feel cold to the touch, but it is very stable. It really just doesn't go out of tune. What actually happened later was, Travis Bean was formed in 1974 with Mark McElwee and Gary Kramer, and they were building guitars until 1975, and then Gary Kramer went off to build his own guitars, and actually have a DMZ 3000, which I can show in a later video. But what Gary Kramer did was he put wooden inserts into the back of the neck to make it feel warmer, and it does make a difference, and as I said in a later video I will actually show you that particular guitar and why it's different. So Travis Bean built about 3,600 guitars up until about 1979. There was an artist model of this which actually had the different German carve on the edge here, and it had, instead of the dot markers, it had rectangular trapezoid markers. There were about 375 or 350, something like that, models made of the standard. The actual rarists are the Wedge and the TB500 models, and you occasionally see them on Reverb going for really quite high prices. The Travis Bean did have quite a few fans in its time, so obviously Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead was really inspirational for a lot of guitars like this. And, he started off brands like Alembic and Kramer, and obviously Travis Bean as well, building these custom guitars. And it really was in the period where the main companies like Gibson really were producing pretty bad guitars. They were cutting costs, and so people turned to luthiers like Travis Bean to build something better. So it's a really interesting guitar. It's I like it a lot. Let's hear what it sounds like. So, for the purposes of this recording, what I'm going to do is use my pedal board down here. I'm going to use mainly an Origin Effects Cali 76 for some compression, and I've got a New Neighbour Immerse reverberator just to add a bit of talent reverb onto the guitar. I was hoping to have a little bit better system to record this on, so unfortunately at the moment I'm just going to record it into GarageBand. I was hoping to have a Strymon Iridium to actually plug it in to get some different amp tones. The ones in GarageBand are not great, but hopefully it will give you an idea of the sound of the guitar. Now the first thing really to notice is the sustain on these guitars. With it being aluminium all the way through, they really do sustain incredibly well. So just playing a straight E chord, you can see it's just going to ring forever. And I've actually changed strings on this. It originally had 10s on it. I've moved it down to 9s, mainly because it's just easier to play, but also it was really, the sound I found was just so big. Travis Beans are known for having a very sort of hi-fi sound, so there's sort of full frequency, and there's no sort of scoops like you get in a Les Paul or other guitars. It's quite full-on sound, so I found just changing down to 9s easier to play and a little less full-on. So what I'll do now is just go through each of the pickup combinations and play some simple tunes, because that's all I can do, and hopefully you get a really good feel for the types of sounds you can get from this guitar. Okay.